Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of your Frederish podcast. I am Gary Jetstone, and here I am once again for one more morning of conversation. I don't know, afternoon, evening, whatever the time you're listening to this. Thank you so very much for your lovely company one more time. And today we're going to just carry on the previous episode. So if you haven't listened to it to this point, I suggest you pause this episode right now and go back to it. It's literally the episode before. So this is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People Part 2. All right. But before that, I would like to just know, what are you going to do right now to relax? What are you going to get for yourself to drink or eat or, cozy up on a soft sofa, chair, bed? As I always say, whatever it takes for you to relax. And join me in this kind of gloomy and certainly totally cloudy and cold and rainy Friday. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, looks like the cold days are back. If you live in Curitiba or nearby, you know that the past days have been pretty summerish, I would say, but that's good. No complaints about it. No complaints about the cold temperature. It's all nature. It's all necessary. This is how it works. This is how things go, right? So without further ado, let's just jump into it. So in the previous episode, just to have a quick recap, we started off by talking about part 1 of the book, that goes about fundamental techniques in handling people, the way you deal with people, the way you treat people, right? And consequently win their friendship or respect. And part 2 of 4, that goes about 6 ways to make people like you. So how to become more attractive, not only in a sexual way, but also in a social way, all right? Basically in a social way. All right, so today we're going to talk about parts 3 and 4, and that's the end of this episode. I deeply, totally, completely suggest you to read this book if it's possible for you to read it in English, way better, because you have the best of both worlds, that is the content, right? Because here is just a summary. There's no way you will be able to get the prime of the book, the essence of this wonderful work, classical work, by just listening to this podcast. You will instead only have an idea, and I really hope I will spike your curiosity, so to say, into going after it and reading it. Okay. In Portuguese, great. In English, wow, double great, okay? So without further ado, now for real, without further ado, let's just take a look at part 3. It goes by the title, How to Win People to Your Way of Thinking. And before I get into the 12 points related in this part, I would like to say that, and to say again what I said in the previous episode, that was about the fact that this knowledge can be used either for good or for bad things, right? For example, this book was released in the 30s, and while I was rereading the main points for this episode, I was kind of thinking like, hey, did Mussolini and Adolf Hitler read this? Kind of course, that we cannot just throw good things away because bad people dispose of it, because bad people used it somehow or benefited from it somehow. Of course, this is not how things work, right? But that just makes me think like, hey, this can effectively, in the hands of this knowledge, in the hands of a narcissistic person, or anything similar to that, can be really, really dangerous. So make sure before you get better at having people appreciating your companionship, appreciating and admiring you, Make sure you become a good person. Make sure you become a deserving person, a worthy trust person. Make sure you become a good person, whatever it is good for you, I would say, because I think that good is universal. Like, no matter how much one would say that, for example, hurting people, literally hurting people, is something good, deep down they know that it's not. So I really encourage you, as a normal person, as a good person, to improve yourself first, to be you, so you become a genuine deserver of the admiration of people. And of course, get these pieces of information from Dale Carnegie to boost that. All right, so let's start with the first part of this, the first item of this part, the how to win people to your way of thinking. It says, the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Arguments rarely change minds, they often just create resentment. This is so true, and if you are in doubt if this is right or wrong, if this is correct, this information is correct, just go to an internet video, YouTube video that is controversial, and check the comment section. The comment section. You see how much people are how people are attacking each other. In the worst ways possible. Okay, and even in the so-called debates. Okay, you see that it's not a knowledge debate. Okay, it's not an ideology debate. It is a ego debate, meaning that people are just fighting each other to see who knows more, who is superior in the argument. And there's no such thing in real life. Okay, like, I think the most basic principle one should follow in order to become a more intelligent person, a smarter person, and a wiser person, why not, is to understand that, well, everything I believe, all the ideologies I praise, if there is any, of course, all the beliefs I have should be subject to confrontation, because I could, at the end of the day, be wrong, either totally or partially wrong. Okay, so you need to have this acknowledgement to yourself when you go to debate with someone. Okay, so by doing that, you're gonna be genuinely debating ideas, not ego. I think a good example of that is Canadian psychologist or psychiatrist, I'm not really sure now, Jordan Peterson. Despite of what his opinions are, you have to acknowledge that when he's talking to someone, he seems to be genuinely interested in what the other person has to say, and generally fighting the other person's argument if necessary, right? Not the person themselves. So this is pretty interesting, and this is something I would like to point out. So let's go to point number 2. Show respect to other person's opinions. Never say you're wrong. Respectful dialogue fosters mutual understanding. Well, this is true, of course. I couldn't agree more. But of course, we have to be careful with that, because at some point, in some situations, it will be necessary for you to say someone is wrong. Of course, don't take that as an everlasting rule. No. But the point here is, if possible for you to avoid saying directly someone is wrong, instead saying, hey, perhaps you should reconsider this opinion of yours. I see you're an intelligent person, but maybe you could just think through a different perspective, or try to put yourself in the position of someone else, and perhaps you could have a better understanding from this point of view. This could work much better, especially in debates, about daily situations, and of course, things involving debates and arguments involving discussions involving social issues, politics, etc., etc. Item number 3, if you're wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. Admitting your mistakes earns you respect and credibility. Well, this is so true. Today, one of the things that in my opinion, push people away from you as an influencer, as someone of someone who seeks for other people's approval or credibility from them, is not making the mea culpa. Okay, you have to admit you're wrong. Of course, don't just make up the mistakes just to say you're wrong, and don't try to say you were wrong when you're not. Okay, because even this humility has to be genuine. You don't try to fake humility. Don't try to fake anything, but especially humility. All right. Item number 4, begin in a friendly way. Approach others with warmth and kindness to set a positive tone. Yeah, that's basics. That's 101 of dealing with people. The more respectful, the more calm you are towards someone else in a discussion, in a conversation, the better for everyone. Item number 6, let the other person do a great deal of the talking. Listen more than you speak. Yeah, there's the old saying we have. That's why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can get to listen more, hear more, instead of than talking. Right? I think there's big truth in it. But there's one indisputable fact: people love talking. Okay, not only about themselves, especially about themselves, but also about themselves. Sorry, not only about themselves, but about everything. People love talking. If you're into a conversation, 99 out of 100 times, the other person will push the conversation for themselves, meaning that they will try to talk more. They will try to over talk you, and sometimes they do that subconsciously. Okay, that's how it works. So try to get the questions asked instead of answers given. It really works in the social dynamics. 7, let the other person feel that the idea is his or hers. People are more invested in ideas they believe are their own. Yeah, this is a kind of manipulative part, but it can work. Okay, I try to avoid this one unless I have one exception to this part. I try personally. I'm not saying you should, but I try to avoid this one unless one exception. It is something that will benefit that person, that I believe will benefit that person. Of course, we have to be careful with the things we believe. Like, one thing is believing someone will benefit from something, and at the end of the day, they won't. But like, when I am really sure, when I really think the risk is great, and if the other person is someone I love, so I will be more careful with that, then I do that. Okay. Otherwise, honestly, I don't recommend this one. Number 8, try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. Empathy is key to understanding and influence. Guys, I would say that this is a rule for life. Okay, no matter if you want to be an influencer, if you want to influence people and win friends, as the book suggests here, but this is really good. When you start, when you put yourself on someone else's shoes, this really gives you a great perspective of the world. Because when you just think of yourself, you see injustice in everything. When you manage to think through, see through others' lens, for others' eyes, for other people's eyes, the world seems a little less unfair. Okay, I could talk more about it, but that's a podcast of its own. 9, be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. Show understanding and support for others' perspective. Yeah, that's a matter of respect. If you're working with someone, try to be interested, try to see, the good ideas coming from that person. What if the person doesn't have good ideas? Well, perhaps that person shouldn't be working with you, right, in the first place. But if the person is good enough to work with you, it means that she's at your level somehow or close enough. So make sure you acknowledge the person's good ideas, and get them to have the credits of it. That will get you respected from that person. That will certainly get you admiration, from that person. 10. Appeal to nobler motives. Encourage others by appealing to their better nature. Again, a very, very dangerous and relative part. But yeah, okay. At the beginning of this episode, I said, make sure you become a good person, right? A better person every day, right? So yeah, if you're going in the right way, you can get, people to do, things for the sake of a greater good, as they say, right? 11. Dramatize your ideas. Present your ideas in an interesting and compelling way. Well, that's literally a whole universe, but it's so true. I honestly invite you to check out more of a oratory. If necessary, if you're into becoming a politician or something, or someone, a leader, you should totally take oratory classes, watch speeches, try to emulate, because yeah, it's a salesperson thing. But when you're posting an idea publicly, at its core, you're selling this idea to people. They're not paying directly with money, but they're paying with their attention. That's why we say pay attention in English, by the way. I think so. 12. Throw down a challenge. People often rise to the occasion when faced with a challenge. Yeah, that's a good strategy. Easy to replicate, easy to do. So just go for it. And in the last part of the book, part number 4, we read, be a leader. How to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. Point number 1. Begin with a praise and honest appreciation. Start with positive feedback before offering criticism. Yeah, when you have something bad to say to someone who works with you, who lives with you, and this is something really hard to swallow, okay, a bitter pill to swallow, as they say, try to start complimenting this person, say, hey, you're very good at this and that and that. I really appreciate this and that in you, but blah, 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 This will open so many doors. You guys have no idea. Instead of just, hey, good morning, blah, criticism, and not only to people who work with you, people in your family, your friends. Try this and come back here and tell me if that doesn't work. I'm pretty sure you won't. You will come back, but to say that it did indeed work. Okay, number 2, call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. Use subtlety when pointing out errors. Yeah, of course, there are exceptions. There are situations where the errors must be pointed out publicly, yeah. But if it's not the case, okay, and especially if this mistake is something personal, not professional, pull that person to a private place and just talk to him or her directly, You can see that even in Bible, Jesus said that. So who am I to try to compliment the master? 3, talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. This shows humility and relatability. Yeah. Although human beings want someone to admire, deep down, in my opinion, they don't want a person to take God's position, like to replace God with that person. No, they want to admire someone, but they want to admire a human being with their good things and bad things, right? So when you never, I'm not saying that when you never point out your own errors, your own mistakes, your own flaws, it is bad. But when you do that in a moderate way, of course, don't try to sell you cheaper, and constantly. That doesn't work. That will only disqualify you. But when you point out your errors, like, hey, I really screwed up here, forgive my French, people will see that, hey, this guy is genuine. This is a person like me, I can totally relate to him and consequently trust him and rely on him. 4. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders. Encourage cooperation by involving others in decision making. Yeah, this speaks alone, right? Let the other person save face. Be considerate of others' dignity and self-respect. This is what I was just reading here about putting yourself, and I was just saying about putting yourself in someone else's shoes, right? Try ask yourself, like, hey, if I point out this error or this situation to that person in this environment, will it be positive to that person? Will it help us as a company and the person, of course, ultimately to get better, or will only motivate them to leave the company or to develop negative feelings towards me and the company, right? So make sure you preserve people's dignity, okay? This is why you criticizing people without a reason in front of other people is so bad, um, not encouraged, okay, to do. 6. Praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. Positive reinforcement encourages continued progress. Yeah, says it all. It says it all. 7. Give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. Set high expectations and express confidence in others' abilities. Yeah, this works well with everyone, but especially with kids. If you have kids, make sure to compliment them when they do something, like, hey, congratulations, I am really proud of you. Come on, and of course, grown-ups, your colleagues, when you hear that, you will see how good this is, to be heard. It makes you like it makes you feel like, hey, I should be better and better to make that person feels prouder and prouder, and it's a win-win situation, in my opinion. 8. Use encouragement. Make the fault seem easy to correct. Motivate others by making challenges seem manageable. Yeah, it says it all too. 9. Make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest. Frame your requests in a way that benefits the other person. This is a very key and interesting one. Like, when you want something to be done and you see that the other person can do that and can do that in a happy way, can do that happily, move the sticks, change your words to make sure that person will do that gladly, okay? Well, this is it for today's episodes, guys, and this is part number 2. That's it for Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. I really hope you appreciate that episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments area down below somewhere, and go read the book in English if possible. Thank you so very much for your lovely company. I see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.